Bonjour, hola, guten Tag. It's Suzi Bewell here with the keynote presentation for the All Southwest of England conference. I'm so honoured and delighted to have been asked to deliver the keynote today. So the theme for today's session is going to be Passport to the World, Globalising the Curriculum in MFL. And this is all about offering your pupils a virtual passport out of lockdown and daring to explore the wider French, Spanish and German speaking world in your lessons. It's my view that when teachers and learners explore the hugely diverse world around them, then rich cultural conversations can't help happen. So within this session, I'd really like to help to reignite your passion for culture, globalise your curriculum, and perhaps even help you to transform your existing scheme of learning. So I'm going to start with a song. Oh. Isn't that wonderful? Trying to play it you a second time. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a flavour for what to expect from today's session. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the importance of culture in language learning. But the main focus really for today's session, which will be about 50 minutes in total, are lots and lots of practical ideas in French, German and Spanish that you can implement very easily into your lessons. And then just a quick conclusion, just to summarise all of the learning from the session. So, where did my interest in all things cultural stem from? Well, this is my 21st year in the classroom. I trained in 1999 over at Trinity and All Saints College with the lovely Simon Green. And if I'm honest, it was probably 5-6 years into my teaching career before I found out about the likes of the Association for Language Learning and organisations like the British Council and eTwinning. And like lots of teachers, I was busy trying to just deal with the day to day, and perhaps thought that it was just one job too many. Then when I started teacher training, when I ran the PGC at the University of York back in 2010, I had a chance meeting at the ICT Links into Languages conference in Southampton with someone from the British Council, and was invited along to a conference in Denmark where I got to pair my then trainee teachers up with teachers in all sorts of other countries across Europe, so other trainee teachers. And that's when I started to learn about the kind of power of connecting and international partnerships. Now, sadly, since the 1st of January, I'm not going to mention the B word, e-twinning for UK participants is no more. But it was a fantastic platform, which hopefully will be replaced in some shape or form under the Turing scheme. By something similar that hopefully does the same thing. So this is a picture from the classroom window of our partner school in Guadeloupe. When they sent me that, first of all, I remember marveling at the picture thinking, take me there now. It's like a scene from Death in Paradise, isn't it? But just thinking how wonderful it is that technology can bring people together. So at this time, I was working at the Minster School in York. And with my year fours, we sent backwards and forwards postcards, presents, the e-twinning teddy bear, just really sharing elements of our lives and our traditions. And what I managed to do through that project was try and incorporate aspects of Guadeloupe and Francophone culture into my everyday lessons. So, for example, when we were teaching the children about parts of the body, I managed to find some clips on BBC class clips relating to parts of the body, but that were actually set in Guadeloupe, which was brilliant. So trying to combine the everyday topics with a country that the children were beginning to become more familiar with. We obviously couldn't easily transfer post because it's such a distance between the two schools. So quite often what we would do is use a Padlet like this one to just upload photographs, little snippets of information, just to keep each other posted. We did manage to send postcards, and you can see from the looks on the children's faces just how excited they were. This was actually on a day when the fantastic John Rolfe came to visit us at school and award us with the International Schools Award, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about later. In my second school, I also managed to set up a partnership with a fantastic school in Martinique. And again, that really helped to kind of direct the learning. We managed to kind of incorporate aspects of culture from Martinique into all elements of the existing scheme of work. And it wasn't always easy, but hopefully in today's session, I'll be able to give you some tips and pointers about how you might be able to do the same. Now, obviously, I mentioned that the e-twinning platform, unfortunately, is no longer available. But I found out a couple of months ago that through a webinar that I attended, that there is still funding until December of 2021 for connecting classrooms through global learning. Now, this isn't a program that I've ever been involved in before, but I just wanted to mention it for now because there are certainly for French-speaking teachers links to Senegal, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Morocco, Tunisia, and Rwanda, which is where I've just about found a partnership. Now, my aim is to send off my application today. It's Monday, the 22nd of February, so just before the conference. But there are actually two further deadlines on the 12th of April and the 14th of June. There are lots of people within the British Council Connecting Classrooms team who are more than happy to connect you with a partner school and also to help you with your application. So if that is something that you are interested in, please feel free to contact me or just follow the link on the top of the slide. And that will give you all the information that you need. So I think it was during the first lockdown. Are we in lockdown number 3? We're hopefully coming out of lockdown number 3. The Association for Language Learning, who I am the honorary membership officer for, asked me if I would contribute an article to their recent Languages Today publication. And I've just put a link there for anybody who perhaps isn't a member. You can get a free copy of that particular magazine, just to give you a flavour of the magazines, the high quality magazines that Bewell produce. But really, the key point from this article, which I wrote about culture, is if we think of learning a language like building a house, and we see high frequency vocabulary, grammar, and phonics as the foundations on which we build, I would argue personally that adding culture into the mix turns that house into a home. And I've had a few people say to me, do you know what, Suzi, that's a really great analogy, because, you know, we can teach languages without the culture, but it just adds that little extra ingredient. And certainly from my 21 years in the classroom, it still excites me. It excites me more than anything. So, practical ideas to use in class. So we're going to have a section on free stuff and a section on paid stuff. But I would say from the outset that anything that I am recommending, which is a paid resource, is something that I personally own and that I think is really worth the money. So my lovely colleague Christine at the Alliance Française de York, I'm the présidente of the Alliance Française de York, and she's put together a list of links that she thinks would be helpful for those of you who are teaching French. Predominantly, TV5 Monde is one that she would recommend, but there are a couple of other links there, again, which you will get in the PowerPoint presentation, which I'll share with you after the event. So TV5 Monde, free resource online. I think many of you probably will have heard of it already. There is also content on there for primary languages teachers, so it is well worth a look, and they're constantly updating that. So if you haven't been on there for a while, then that's definitely one to look out for. There's also this fantastic series called Destination Francophone, which is on TV5 Monde Europe. And again, if we are trying to broaden our curriculum to include countries outside of mainland France, then this might give you as the teacher some ideas, some food for thought, you know, in thinking about where you might start your research. In terms of German, I remember many years ago, perhaps when I first got involved in global learning, there was a brilliant teacher resource pack, some of you might remember it, about Namibia. And there are still a number of German speakers in Namibia. So I found this channel on YouTube called Easy German. And this is a really lovely clip that you might want to share with your learners about some children from Namibia. And obviously it's all in German. The lovely Liz Black, who you can see there in the top right of my screen, also shared with me lots and lots of lovely links for German. So some links there to the Goethe Institute, North York's Deutsch, which Liz runs along with a few other really keen German teachers and specialists. There's a link there to Forgotten German Roots in Pennsylvania, and then a couple of YouTube clips, and then the Step Into German campaign, which I hear is a fantastic campaign for all things German. So I didn't want to leave you Germanists out there. I started my career as a German teacher. I don't teach German anymore, but I know that there are still some of you out there fighting the corner of German. So I do hope those links will serve you well. Now, again, back in the first lockdown, the lovely Mr. Francis MFL created a Spanish version of this Monopoly game. And he was basically saying, look, you know, the kids are spending an awful lot of time online. A lot of the stuff that we're sharing with them isn't necessarily culturally focused. So how about this game? So I contacted him and asked if it would be possible to create a French version. So he shared the original with me. And if you go onto my website, polyglotlanguages.wordpress.com, which you'll see the link for at the end of the slide, you will be able to download for free the game in French, Spanish, and also in German, thanks to Mr. Kinson, who very kindly translated it into German. So this is what it looks like. So essentially, the children will play a familiar game, could get family members involved, maybe brothers and sisters, and really just to do some personal research around the landmarks, the flags, the national animals, the national anthem, finding out a little bit more about the country of their choice. Now, obviously, this is the Francophone version, but that would be exactly the same for the Spanish and the German. And again, the feedback on that has been really, really popular. Just something that isn't so technology focused, but where the children can actually learn lots and lots of really useful information. Now, again, back in the last lockdowns, this was in May 2020. I'm going to be running this again shortly. I decided to try and set up a creative poetry competition. And again, this was in all languages, not just French, German, Spanish. It was open to anyone of any age, teachers, adults, students, but essentially with students in mind, having them create a haiku, which if you don't know is a poem that has 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables. And it was about either your favorite French speaking part of the world, Spanish speaking part of the world, German speaking part of the world. We had entries from people speaking Italian. I think we had a Polish entry. We had loads and loads of different entries. The idea was that the teachers would collate those entries, send them to me via email, and I awarded 3 prizes and put together an anthology of all of those poems. So this one was the French example, Au Madagascar, dans l'océan Indien, vanille et les murs. And if you think about the syllables, you can count along with me if you like. Au Madagascar, 5 syllables. Dans l'océan Indien, 7 syllables. Vanille et les murs, 5. So that's where you get your 575. If you are interested in that, I will be posting shortly on social media. And I think I will set that as a challenge for between now and after the Easter holidays. And hopefully, if we're back in school anytime soon, you'll be able to promote that face-to-face with your learners. Again, you might want to focus on some of the German-speaking countries or the Spanish-speaking countries. It doesn't have to be a country that the students have necessarily learned about, because, again, maybe with the help of that Monopoly board, they could go away and do the research themselves. And what's great about a haiku is that it doesn't necessarily have to be grammatically accurate. It can be just a combination of words connected with that particular country or part of the world. Okay, so moving on to escape rooms of virtual tours. What an amazing amount of creativity there's been in lockdown, like the sharing and the willingness to just put stuff out there and say, do you know what, I've done this, I don't know whether it's perfect, I don't know if it will help you, but here, have it, adapt it, manipulate it to suit your own needs. So on here, I've got a couple of examples. I'm not going to click on them, but obviously the PowerPoint is yours to do what you like with. There's a brilliant one about Gustave Eiffel. I can't remember actually who this one was originally posted by, so apologies if it's yours. About the Eiffel Tower and about all things Paris. There's a fantastic one here by Caroline Heaney about Jour de Fête. And if you click on the final link at the bottom, Esmeralda Salgado, who I'm sure many of you will know, has also put together a lovely Padlet, or it might be a Wakelet, but essentially an online space where there are not only links to ready-made escape rooms about the Francophone, Spanish-speaking, German-speaking world, but also other things that might serve you well if we continue to teach online. Now, this was one of my favourite activities from last term. I think it was in about October, November time. So we were still in school. One of my colleagues who I'm currently doing an e-twinning project with, Keita, she shared this with me. She'd put together a kind of virtual tour, if you like, of Morocco. And this was really timely because I've been writing my most recent polyglot book, which is all about Morocco. So I shared this with the students. And again, if you click on the link when you get access to the presentation, it will take you to the virtual tour, and the children can do this independently of you, or you could do it in a lesson through the interactive whiteboard if you have one, where you click on the different links and it takes you to the airport, it takes you to some of the main sites, it shows you around maybe some cafes and restaurants, looks at the food of Morocco. It's just a brilliant way of helping the children to visit virtually a Francophone or Spanish or German speaking country. And there are lots of these already out there. So I wouldn't necessarily go to the effort of making one yourself. I would do a little search on either Facebook or Twitter, put some requests out there, and I'm sure you'll find that there are ones that have already been made that you can maybe tweak or adapt to suit your needs. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and anybody who knows me already from social media will know that I work really closely with the Institut Français, promoting all things French, because French is my first true love in terms of languages. It's the language that I studied at university, and it will always be the language that I love to teach and to speak. So here you've got the information about the current French pop video competition. And a link at the bottom there to show how I linked that in my lessons to Carnaval in Guadeloupe. So remember, I mentioned the Year 4 class who we were connected with a school in France. The link at the top to the Institut Français will tell you more about that competition. The deadline is the end of March 2021. Obviously, if we go back in school, it will make putting the video and the recording and the singing together much, much easier. But I will be hosting a webinar, details of which are in the bottom right of this slide, a week on Wednesday. So actually it will be Wednesday of next week, Wednesday the 3rd of March, about tips and tricks to help you to participate in the competition. There's a free how-to guide if you've never entered the competition before and you want to, but I wanted to share with you, I won't share the whole video, I don't think, but I'll share you a little snippet of my Year 8 entry, which we put together on the theme of Carnaval, I think 2 years ago now. So I'll just move on to that in the next slide. Okay, here we go. Sing along if you like. C'est carnaval, Okay, so you get the idea. I'm not going to play the whole thing just because I'm conscious of time, but I hope that gives you a little flavour of what we did in our competition entry. I think music is a really powerful tool in the languages classroom. I know that many of you share that view because I've seen some of the things that you share. Again, I'm not going to click on all of these links, but the lovely people at Rocalingua have got a fantastic song in Spanish free to use on their website about the different countries where Spanish is spoken. There's a song here called Ohé Ohé, ici on parle français. Quite a dated video, but again, the video is brilliant in that it reinforces the fact that French is spoken in so many different countries. And then the clip here at the bottom is the one that I played you at the beginning of my presentation, 29 pays en 2 minutes, and that was very kindly shared by a teacher colleague recently on Twitter, I think. Now, moving on to other free to access resources. Some of you, I'm sure, will have heard of the News in Slow Spanish website, for example. Also available in German and French, so in all three languages. And this is one that I definitely promote to my sixth formers, just to try and keep up to date with what's going on in the news. And that often focuses on the wider French, Spanish and German speaking world, which is brilliant. Another website which I came across recently, which I've subscribed to, you can see the sign up screen on the right hand side, is News in French. So again, for the French teachers out there, just a little bit of kind of insight in what's going on in the French speaking world. It comes straight to your inbox, so I get that early in the morning. And when I have my my morning time before I start the day, what I often do is just read that, because it helps me to keep up with my own level of French. But also there might be articles on there that I could direct my year 11s or sixth formers to. There's something topical or cultural that I think they might be interested in. Here we've also got a couple of Spanish websites on muyinteresante.com, which is a brilliant website. And then we've also got Periódico El Gancho, which I think is a lesser known one. Some really great articles again on there, and ones that we can share with our students, perhaps our older students, so that they can learn independently of us. Brut, I discovered probably 2 years ago. I think it was a conference up in Durham. Again, the focus was about culture. There's definitely a theme running through my conference interests. But this is available in French and in Spanish, and there's also a Mexican version, which I think has lots of potential for the Spanish teachers out there. You can see in the top right-hand corner, I just did a very brief search on La Guyane Française, and that's pulled up lots and lots of articles. What I love about Brut is that they're very short, sort of 2 to 3 minute videos, but they are annotated, so there are subtitles. So as well as listening to the French or Spanish, you also get to see lots of the text popping up. So it's great for reading comprehension as well as listening. Reignite, I think, is a really well-known one, so I'm not going to dwell on this, but certainly for Key Stage 3 and above, short little videos. I think in lockdown, certainly maybe even now, there is the opportunity to download the weekly magazine for free, so do take advantage of that. And again, just a little screenshot here of an article that I found about the Archipel de Mayotte. I'd love to go there one day, wouldn't you? Mon Quotidien is something that I have on my iPad. So you can subscribe to that. I think it's about €5 a month. And you get daily updates about what's going on in the world, not just in the Francophone world, but also if you're just interested in downloading the odd example, you can have it on your app store, on an iPad, or perhaps on Android, and you can just decide on a daily basis whether you want to download that. And I think it's about 60 centimes, so not expensive at all. Now, this is merci à Daniel Bourdieu. Daniel and I obviously share a love of all things cultural, and we're always sharing things backwards and forwards. This is a brilliant activity which I've used quite recently with my year 11s. We were recapping daily routine linked to school, and this is all about this boy James, who's from Haiti, and it shows his daily routine. The link to that activity again is it's hyperlinked at the top of the page, and that's from a charity called Solidarité Laïque, who I now get quite regular updates from. I had a really good look around their website the other day and discovered that they've also got some fantastic resources about the Congo, which I think is definitely not a country, a French-speaking country that I've necessarily explored in a great deal of detail in the past. So there are lots of teaching resource guides, links to food, culture, geography, environment that you can download from that website. So another one that I would strongly recommend for the French teachers amongst you. Now, this is thanks to Noelia. Noelia, a couple of days ago on one of the Facebook pages, posted a link to this website here where you have got some freebies in Spanish. So postcards of the hanging houses of Cuenca, the Spain family quiz, and then walking the Camino de Santiago. So that may well be of use to some of you as well. Now, the lovely folks at MFL Suzi have put together this wakelet. I think there's been a lot of talk in the last month or so about all things Francophone culture. So I think they decided to put everything in one place, and there are a couple of links on there from me. The 20th of March, which I'll come on to a little bit later, is the International Day of la Francophonie. So I think the plan here is to try and help teachers to have one space online where you can find anything and everything linked to la Francophonie. So a big thank you to them for putting that together. Around about Christmas time, I think this is maybe 2-3 years ago, I put together this Francophone cultural calendar. Obviously, we regularly, I think, as languages teachers, focus on the cultural similarities and differences around Christmas time in the target language countries. And I found loads and loads of really, really great articles, YouTube clips. You can see a couple of examples on the right-hand side of the screen, linked to Christmas in the wider Francophone world. So that's something that perhaps you might want to have a little look at and explore. More recently, I think in the first lockdown, maybe I had a bit more time on my hands because I wasn't traveling to work every day. I put together this cultural calendar in French. I've called it Le Monde Francophone en 365 jours. In June, I offered this calendar for free via social media. And again, the response was really, really positive. The idea was that you could click on any day on the calendar with a hyperlink, and that would take you to an external website where you could share that information with your students. And you'll notice that it's not just links from France, but you've also got, for example, links in Guadeloupe, Polynésie Française, Belgique, and so on. So I've tried to make sure that it's varied. On each of the calendar pages, you've got proverbs from that particular month, which I think is quite a nice little touch. And then you've also got the saints' days, which I think the children like to hear about if they've got a name, for example, that is linked to a saints' day in France. The good news, which some of you may well already be aware of, is that these cultural calendars, with the help of the wider MFL community, are now available not just in French, but also in German and Spanish. And to download them, you just need to go to my website, which is polyglotlanguages.co.uk. I have to say a big thank you to the Leeds Trinity University MFL trainee teachers. I work once a week with them as a visiting lecturer, and they were really keen to put together a Spanish calendar. So that is all their work. I can only be credited for giving them the idea and perhaps a few links to things that were going on in the month of February. Also, Fräulein Dresden, who contacted me again on Twitter and said, wouldn't it be great if there was a German calendar? And I said, well, I'm really busy focusing on the French one, but if you want me to support you and help to put that together, then if you're willing to take the lead, that would be fantastic. Again, if that link doesn't work, or if you want to contribute to any future calendars, then obviously contact me on Twitter. That would be brilliant, or drop me an email. So as I said earlier, La Semaine de la Francophonie is coming up in the month of March, and La Journée Internationale de la Francophonie is always on the 20th of March. The Institut Français in London always take a particular Francophone country. Am I allowed to tell you? I think I can tell you that the country of choice this year is Canada. So not just Quebec, but all parts of Canada, North America, where French is spoken. And there on the right-hand side, you've got a lovely infographic from the lovely people at Mary Glasgow Publications. So that's definitely one for the diary. The 11th of September 2021 is German Language Day. So pop that in your calendar if you are a German teacher. And a big thank you here to Alison Crossley from MFL Swavesey, again, sharing lots and lots of lovely resources of late. The 23rd of April is always the day of the Spanish language, so not long away. So that's one to maybe start thinking about now and trying to prepare for, so that your students get an opportunity to think about where Spanish is spoken in the world. And before I move on to the paid for resources, I think this is my last slide. I just wanted to flag up EF Prof, which is a kind of, the best way to describe it is a Facebook for French teachers. You can see from the map there on the screenshot that there are French speaking teachers or French teachers from all over the world. It's a great place to connect, download resources, and just really connect with people who have a shared interest in teaching all things Francophone. So efprof.org, you just need to set up a really simple login, and then you will get alerts to your email, or you can just go on there as and when you feel like it and you want an inspiration. Okay, not quite finished. 20 free lessons on the Sustainable Development Goals. So last year and the year before, I worked alongside Leeds Development Education Centre to produce 20 plus French lessons on les objectifs de développement durable, in English, the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I think more and more people are aware of these, but if you actually look at the ones that I've ticked, I felt that these connected really, really well to our existing topics from schemes of work. So poverty, hunger, quality education. I could see ways of sort of sneakily adapting my existing schemes of work to make these all important sustainable development goals feature within my lessons. So what I did was create those lessons. I'll just go back one slide, the link to where you can find those free to download, not just in French, but in Spanish and German, thanks to a really hardworking team of volunteers. This is what the website looks like. So you've got a French tab, a German tab, and a Spanish tab. And then you can see there the different sustainable development goals that we have focused on. So I do hope people will enjoy using those. The resources are, where possible, linked to Francophone, Spanish-speaking, German-speaking countries, and they have been written by practicing languages teachers like myself, because what we wanted to do was make sure that the skills that were being practiced within those lessons would align themselves perfectly to the requirements of GCSE. So do please feel free to help yourselves to those. Okay, so moving on to practical ideas to use in class. These are to purchase. So I've put here prices range from a few pounds up to about £50, but I genuinely will only recommend things I've either used myself or know to be worth a financial investment. I do know how tight our budgets are at present. So the first one, which is a bit of a lesser known target language magazine company, is ELI magazines. Now, I discovered these at the Languages show in London. I'm going to say about 6-7 years ago. They normally have freebies on display, so I generally take a couple of copies just to feel inspired. You can actually download back copies for a much cheaper price. So for about £10, you could download last year's copies of the ELI magazines as digital downloads. And again, because we know that culture isn't something that dates particularly, what's great about this is that you can use those resources year on, year out. Mary Glasgow magazines, I think people probably think that I'm on some sort of commission for Mary Glasgow magazines, but I genuinely get super excited when my Mary Glasgow magazines drop onto the doormat every couple of months. For less than £15 a month, you can subscribe to 6 copies a year. So this shows you a couple of examples of the French versions, and the French range from Key Stage 2, sort of upper Key Stage 2, all the way to 6th form. Here's one example that went crazy online a few weeks ago. It was Pancake Day. I forgot to post this on La Chandeleur, but I generally use it on Chandeleur to show the different types of pancakes. And there's a teacher who I met on Global Innovative Language Teachers called Gwen, who really kindly shared the link at the top, which is a link to a lesson all about pancakes from different parts of the Francophone world. Here's an example of one of their magazine articles about La Saint-Valentin dans le monde. So that could be one to share for next year. So what all the different strange traditions that go on in different parts of the world. I love things like this. I don't know, maybe it's the language geek in me, but I really love finding out about things like that, and I think the children do too. Now, La Réunion has a really important place in my heart because it's where I actually got married to Mr. Bewell 21 years ago, coming up for 21 years ago. So lots of articles about different places in the Francophone world, quite easy to access, and often with a little glossary at the bottom for maybe slightly more difficult vocabulary. This one focuses on daily routine, ma journée scolaire. So you've got a student from Paris and a student from Casablanca. And then we've got Le Tour du Monde des Loisirs, which is all about leisure in the Francophone world. So you can see here we've got a student from France, which is what we typically expect probably from a textbook, but also someone from Montreal. We've got Nour, who is from Tunisie. We've got Anna from La Suisse. And we've also got Alassane, who is from Senegal. So really culturally rich there. This one I used with my year 9 class, an infographic again, which is becoming more and more popular in the magazines, about la météo en francophonie. Now, I've never thought to teach the weather using different parts of the Francophone world, but actually having used this, I think that would be a good way in. And I remember many years ago, Juliet Park, whose work I really value, she used to talk about teaching the usual in an unusual way. And I think that's just that. It's taking a traditional topic and just trying to flip it slightly so that the emphasis is more on the culture and maybe the motivation and the engagement might be slightly higher as well. In Spanish, this is an example of one of the Mary Glasgow magazines, ¿Qué tal? As I said, for all ages. So this one is aimed at Key Stage 3, years 7 to 8. We've got one of the articles here from ¿Qué tal?, which is all about Carnaval. And Dia de los Muertos, La Navidad, so traditional festivals that we might cover in our scheme of learning. And then I had another look the other day to see what else was out there. Some articles here about Argentina. So we've got La Pascua. And then we've also got a lovely infographic here. Again, the same kind of theme, looking at school system, but not just in Spain, but in Argentina. So I think that's a really nice one as well. Das Rad is one of the German magazines which is still available. Not as many magazines for German teachers because, as we're aware, not as much German being taught, sadly, in schools. So we've got a nice article here about Oktoberfest. We have got a listening article, which is all about Namibia and German being spoken in Namibia. Grüß Gott und Grüezi. We've got Österreich und die Schweiz. Some of the information there about other German-speaking countries outside of Germany. Das Christkindl kommt. It's about Christmas traditions, again, in Austria and Switzerland. And moving on to Miss Seminal. So we talked about Playback Press earlier. These are the people who are responsible for Mon Quotidien. I noticed a few months ago they do offer magazine subscriptions and they have a website looking at Spanish articles, which is great. Again, this one focusing on Argentina, and the one on the right-hand side, Mexico. And then we've got Meine Woche, which is the German equivalent. Up-to-date articles, refresh daily, listening activities. Again, this is a paid-for resource, but if you are struggling to find German, high-quality German resources, this might be one to look at. Now, I think I chose the picture on the left-hand side just because I think it's brilliant. A picture of a pig made up of different pieces of ham. This is deinspiegel.de. A yearly subscription is just short of €12. And I have it on good authority that it is a really good magazine for, as I say, up-to-date kind of target language culture input. And again, it might just be that it is for your own personal use. There might be the odd article in there that you could use with your learners. Now, I think every webinar I've done in the last year or so, I've mentioned this book, and I'll continue to mention it because I pull it out practically weekly. Santé en poésie et contes autour du monde. You can see there the index page and the link at the bottom to where you can purchase that on Amazon. I think it's just short of £10, but I love it because there are so many poems about the Francophone world. I'll show you a couple of them in a second, but also other parts of the world. So if, for example, you've got learners in your school who speak other home languages, you might want to focus on those countries in French. So this one, again, linking with my current obsession with all things Morocco, couscous et dessert. And then we have got Kourou, which is all about La Fusarienne in Guyane. And that's quite a nice one because it's very simple. So I could imagine even with a primary school class using this one, because we've got our countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 parti. We've got some nice rhyme in there with Guyane and Ariane, with Kourou and Ou. So I think that would be a really nice one to use lower down the school too. I also wanted to mention Claire Seccom's new publication, Poesia. So she's just produced some poems in Spanish for beginner learners. My understanding is that these are suitable for all key stages, from key stage 2 up to key stage 4 potentially. And you've got an example there of one of the poems that she's produced. Just £6, so huge bargain. And Claire's selfie page is just there at the top. So a big thank you to Claire for all the work that she does to support Spanish teachers. In German, I haven't been able to find a similar book or collection of poems. If you know of one, please do let me know, and we can share that. But I did find, by just doing simple Google image searches, that there are lots of poems out there in German. You could also search Pinterest. It could be about special times of the year, it could be different cultural events, or even German-speaking countries. Now, the Guinness Book of World Records, you'll see from the drop down on the right, is available in Spanish, in German, in English, and in Portuguese. Sadly for me, not in French, although there are some French clips on YouTube. So I've just shown you on the next couple of slides. I'm thinking about Easter because it's time for chocolate and celebrating a couple of weeks off school, which I'm sure we'll all be ready for by then. Just a couple of article screenshots that I have picked up here. So egg hunting, the elephant with the biggest ears, a huge Easter egg there, and then the longest kind of trail of decorated Easter eggs. So really nice short articles there, really captivating images and things that I think the children would be interested to find out about. I also wanted to mention these books from brilliant publications by Danielle Bourdet. There is one, I don't think it's on that screenshot there, which is all about La Francophonie, so specifically about Francophone countries, but really easy to read, really quality content, and also really accessible. If you remember the days of Bibliobus, they remind me quite a lot of those. Now, Linguiscope is obviously a well-known website for languages teachers, and those of you who subscribe, I'm sure, will be aware of their shop. I wasn't until I did a webinar for them earlier in the year, but on there they have a series of books about the French-speaking world, so Switzerland, Louisiane, which I've used recently with my sixth formers, l'Égypte, la Belgique. Here are a couple of screenshots of what they look like. So there's one there about Haiti, and this is probably my favourite one from the series about Le Maghreb, where it focuses on more African countries where French is spoken. They are really reasonably priced. I think they're no more than about £7 for a digital download. And I also wanted to flag up this DVD, which I have a copy of, which can be now downloaded as an ebook with a link to the stream video. So you don't even need the DVD. £9.99, which is an absolute bargain. And this is about two girls, one from Paris and one from Ottawa in French-speaking Canada, and their adventures, where the girl from Paris goes to visit her pen friend in Ottawa. It's just a lovely different take on all things that we study anyway. The Global Centre in Devon have this fantastic publication, Hola Peru. I think this one is the one that is probably the most expensive of all. It is around about £50, but so much work has gone into this. Obviously, it says developing intercultural understanding at Key Stage 2 and 3 through Spanish, geography and global citizenship. So those of you perhaps interested in dabbling in all things CLIL, content and language integrated learning, that might be one for you. There is actually a free sample about life in the capital city of Lima. So if you follow the links on there, it will give you more information about how you can purchase that, and also a little sample so that you can get a taste of what the workbook might offer you. Take Mali, I've had a copy of for, probably going on for 10 years now. If we look at this, it says one copy, £50 plus £3.50 per copy. I would say it's worth every penny. It includes video, resources, images, ready-made activities, and again, a lesser taught Francophone country, which I think the children will be really particularly interested in. Now, only recently did I come across this resource from Early Start. I think it was Marion Devons, if I remember rightly, alerted me to this. So the people at Early Start Online have created this activity pack. You can have it for a year as a subscription for £20. So I think, again, that's quite reasonable. And it includes video resources, activities. It's aimed essentially at Key Stage 2, but having looked at it, I would say that it is equally suitable for students in Key Stage 3 too. Now, I can't lead this webinar without mentioning my own resources, because they've been such a labour of love in the last 5 or 6 years. So back in 2015, I think, when I was just about to leave the university to go back into the classroom, I decided that I was going to set up my own consultancy, Polyglot Languages. And I've always dreamt of producing my own resources. I wanted to write stories based in the Francophone world. So Polyglot, the parrot, the multilingual parrot, as you can see in the top right, was born. My good friend Laura designed all the imagery. And I've spent the last 5 years in between teaching and training and finding time in holidays generally to research and write these storybooks. So currently there are 5 books. The most recent one you can see here is all about Morocco, so Les Aventures de Polyglotte dans le monde francophone. And the idea with these is that I produce sort of 30 to 35 pages in quite basic French. They include hyperlinks. You can see there on the slides, anything that is in blue, you can click on and it will take you to an external website, video, perhaps a quiz. There are informal assessments at the end, so using Kahoot and Quizlet. And there is also native speaker audio. So for the Morocco book, I had a very kind offer from a teacher friend who is over in Dubai, but is a native Moroccan French speaker. She's done the audio so that the children can actually hear different accents from different parts of the Francophone world, which again is really super exciting for me. This is a snippet from the story about Switzerland. So we've got focus there on food and the cheese. This is a snapshot from the Morocco books about couscous tagine and all the delightful puddings that you can have in Morocco. Again, from the Morocco book, which is the most recent one that I've published, when I was teaching Year 9 or recapping with Year 9 family members, I decided again to do it in a slightly more unusual way, focusing on the Moroccan royal family. The 24th of June is La Fête Nationale du Québec. So again, put that in your diary. That might be a time to think about using my Polyglotte va au Canada book, which focuses on all things winter sports, Carnaval, Bonhomme Carnaval. And this one I think is one of my favorites. When we are teaching clothes, why not focus in the Belgian story about the mannequin piece and his 800 different costumes? That would be a really good way into teaching clothes and colours, wouldn't it? So they are usually £5 each, but I'm offering them for conference delegates at £4 each. As I say, they're in PDF, ebook. Hello there, it's Suzi Bewell back. Thanks to the wonders of technology, I have managed to cut off the last few minutes of my presentation. So I'm back again, just rounding things off for you. So you will have noticed that the theme of the presentation was about a passport to the world. And what I wanted to do just to round things up was to mention one thing that I do at the start of the year with my classes, which is to issue them all with a blank copy of this British Council template passport. And what we do is every time the students come into contact with an activity which focuses around the Francophone world, they get a passport stamp and they write in their passport to say where they've been virtually. It's amazing actually by the end of the year how many stamps they've collected, and I think it's a really good way of encouraging them to really keep track of all of the different cultural input that they have been exposed to throughout the year. Now, back in 2011, Ofsted Achievement and Challenge Report for MFL was quoted as saying, teachers made insufficient use of the wealth of authentic material that is available to develop students' intercultural understanding. And if you want to read the whole report, then it's the link is just there at the bottom. Now, I would say in conclusion that that is an absolute load of rubbish. There is a wealth of authentic material out there, and I hope I've managed to share lots of that with you today. But I think there are so many different ways in which we can help develop our students' intercultural knowledge and understanding, and that can be both in class and independently of us. It is my belief and a long-held belief that we owe it to our learners to integrate culture from the wider target language countries into our languages lessons, and we can do that even remotely, hopefully for not much longer. Now, textbooks, I'm not against textbooks. Textbooks are great, they have their place, But I think, again, they must be complemented with authentic material from the target language countries, because we, as languages teachers, play a huge part in globalising the curriculum, probably more so than we would like to admit, and certainly a lot more than other curriculum areas. Now here you've got a lovely picture of John Rolfe MBE. This was taken in November 2018 at the Minster School in York. Now this was actually only 2 months after we started to work on our international partnership work with the school in Guadeloupe and another school in France. So it really is quite easy to gain the Foundation Award certificate. If that is something that you and your school are interested in, if you feel that you're already on your way to achieving quite a lot of international work, then do visit the tiny URL link there to find out more about the International Schools Award, or you can simply tweet at Yorkshire John on Twitter, and I'm sure he would be more than happy to speak to you. When John came to school, we did a write-up in our parent newsletter for the week. And what I particularly like was the mention of bringing the world daily into your classroom. And I think that really is my intention. Where possible, sometimes I have to think really long and hard about how to do that. I try and integrate Francophone or target language culture into every lesson that I teach, even in very small ways. Why do I do that? Because for me, it is about developing proactive global citizens. Not all of the children will get as much as I possibly would like them to from the language element of the lessons, but I think the children do gain an awful lot of insight into the world around them and the part that they play. Now, before I end with a quote and my details, I just wanted to share this lovely image with you. This is a picture of me on the right with my new partner in Rwanda. This is Marie-Jean. She is the head teacher of Gisenyi College. And through Connecting Classrooms with Global Learning, we've just started a new project. So I think this is, this is kind of a defiance on my part, if you like. E-twinning may have gone. Brexit may have removed certain privileges for languages teachers, which is a shame, but I think there are still ways and means of connecting with other teachers abroad for the benefit of our students. And also, look at my face, how excited I am about starting that partnership. And I do hope that the children will be equally excited. So one final parting thought before I share my contact details with you. This is from Gavin Oates, an author, a favourite author of mine. He's quoted as saying, "What's the point in having a belly if there's no fire in it," right? Now, culture, as I think I've demonstrated in this presentation, really excites me, really gets me going. It's what makes me want to continue teaching languages. And I hope I have set you off with some great ideas that will inspire you to take that further in your teaching too. Now, I always love hearing from colleagues after conferences and events if there's anything that you want specifically to ask me or for me to share. So my details are there, suzibuell@gmail.com. My Twitter is @SuziBuell. And there you've got my website address, polyglotlanguages.co.uk, where you'll be able to download a copy of this presentation. And there's also there in the black link a freebie download of my Polyglot va en Suisse storybook. One final thing that I would encourage you to do so that we all can share and continue to share the brilliant resources around culture is to tag any of your social media posts with the hashtag cultural capital. That just means that it's much easier for everybody to keep sharing. You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for listening and for taking part in today's event. I'm really looking forward to seeing the other presenters and all the fantastic work that they are going to share with you. So it's thank you and au revoir from me. And I look forward to hearing from some of you at some point in the future. Take care, folks. Au revoir.